Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to Sweetwater's Guitars and Gear. This time out, special guest joining us. We have Jeff Owen from 10th Avenue North.
Hey.
Great to have you join us here.
Pleasure to meet you.
So you're out on the big Winter Jam tour.
Winter Jam, yeah.
Since January, right?
Yeah, and we're officially in spring now, and we're still on Winter Jam.
Till April.
It's a big tour, yeah.
Something like that. And then you go out on the big festival circuit, it looked like to me. You're booked pretty much through the summer.
Festivals, yeah. All over.
So tell us what Winter Jam is.
Winter Jam is, it's a something for everybody tour. There's 10, maybe a little bit more acts out, and it's it's $10 at the door, and first come, first serve kind of thing. So, everybody bring the youth group in the van. We're leaving at 5 o'clock, and so everybody, there are a lot of people kind of camp out, and it's an annual thing, so it's cool. We've got rappers, there's pop music. Crowder is, he would call it swamp rock. We play, pop, rock, and so there's something for everybody on this tour. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's a big event.
Yeah,
big event. And you're playing here in Fort Wayne tonight. Is how we are able to have you visit us here at Sweetwater.
Yeah.
So we're glad
Thanks
you took
for
time to
having
come
me.
over.
Yeah,
it's tough with sound checks and everything to work all of that in.
Oh well, sound check 1, maybe 2, but you got the save function, so you just step up on stage and go on the fly. So it's dialed in now, though. So.
Right, make it all work.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have done enough of them that you're probably pretty well set.
Yeah.
Right on. So you hold the distinction, I think, of anyone I've ever interviewed of you've actually been in this band, I'd say 3 times, depending on how you count, right? Started out on bass, filling in, and then you were in for a couple of days, and then you're back in again. Tell us the story there. What happened?
Yeah, I was living in Florida trying to go back to college at the time, and the band was working at a church, and so I wasn't in the band, but they asked me to fill in on bass, and you play guitar, you could figure the bass out.
Right.
And so just doing worship songs for the youth group once a week, and then I moved back to Indiana, and they asked me to join the band, and I said yes to play bass. But then another gig came up that was closer to home, which was the original reason why I moved. So I was like, hey, sorry guys, this actually came up and I get to stay close to home. I'm gonna have to not, move down to Florida and join the band. Right. But then about 2 years later, they called back and said, hey, we need a guitar player now, so could you play guitar? And I said, all right, I think I really need to be in this band. So, we just traveled around the country in the van and trailer, and doing youth groups and weekends and retreats, and just said yes to everything that kind of came along. And I guess 10 years later.
Right.
10 years later, still doing it. So
right.
It's cool.
So the final return to the band was 2009. Is that correct?
I want to say it was 2007, maybe late 2006.
Okay.
Yeah, because we got signed in 2007.
Oh, I know what I was thinking. I was thinking the current keyboard player came in 2009.
Yeah.
So the band has been kind of the same lineup since 2009.
Right. Yeah. We met Ruben, our bass player, on a canoeing trip, and then we actually auditioned Brendan. So we joke around that he's the only one actually qualified to be in the band because he auditioned and went to school for music, and
right.
So yeah.
Right. The interim gig that you were talking about in there was with Joy Williams, who's now with the Civil Wars, correct?
That's right.
Well,
she's now back. She's now solo on her own.
Okay.
Now, but yeah, she was in Christian music before, and I played with her when she released her last Christian record. So played bass for her, and it was most of those festival shows, just throw and go, and it was super fun. And but then she kind of exited Christian music, and so I was trying to figure out what to do, and that's shortly thereafter the band asked me to join them. So
right.
But yeah, I turned them down initially to play with Joy because it was I could make it work closer to home.
Yeah,
so.
sure.
But yeah, she's doing great things on her own now. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So tell us how you got started. What drew you to the guitar in the first place?
Man, my brother, he had friends that played the guitar, and so I started out on singing in church choir as a little kid, in cherub choir, where you get the white robes on and sing. But it was, in middle school, it was, you can either pick reading class or band. And it was, obviously I don't want to read. I want to go in the band class. So I didn't have the, what's it called, like the embouchure for reeds or horns, and so it was percussion. But then, my brother's friends were all playing guitar, and I was like, that's so cool. So got one for my birthday. I think it was like a Kramer or something, way back when.
Right.
Through a crate amp, and it took me a while. I'm pretty much self-taught, so yeah.
Right. What were you trying to emulate artists in those years as you were coming up?
Yeah, back then it was Nirvana and Bush and anything on rock radio.
Right.
Back in 96, 97. So, I just started there, and his friends would show me some stuff, but, kind of figured it out on my own. I tried to take lessons at the local music store, but the guy just like shredded the whole time, It's like, here's some chords, learn these chords, Okay. 20 minutes of just wailing in front of me, I'm like, okay,
right.
Cool. I didn't really go that often though, because
Didn't get that much from that?
Yeah, learn these chords, okay.
Right.
So
I hear some of those influences in what you do with the band. There's kind of you're kind of doing textural stuff part of the time with a lot of delays and things, but then there's also the heavy, higher gain, distorted things that you put behind choruses and things, so you're kind of marrying those two things together.
Yeah, and with guitar playing, I've kind of realized like I can't be all things to all people or all types of music. So, and being self-taught, I wasn't extremely disciplined, and I started later than a lot of other guys that we play with on the road. But it's just finding like when you hear something you really, really enjoy, trying to emulate that. And my bigger influences would be Kevin Cadigan from Third Eye Blind, in the original Third Eye Blind band, and this record by Snow Patrol called 100 Million Suns. I really like their textures with the guitars, and sometimes it's just 1/5, 1/5 back and forth, but it's just the way that it's played is really tasteful, and I don't consider myself a shredder, someone that can just kill it on guitar. I kind of really think about what the music, the moment, needs, and then play it well, and and make it go well on tape when we're recording, and then just do that live. And I sing a lot of background vocals, so I kind of have to keep it functional, doing both of those. So,
right.
But yeah.
Right. Well, you're serving though the texture of the song, and a lot of the things you're talking about with delays and things, I hear those as being kind of the signature kind of melody points in the introductions in a lot of the songs and some of the breakdowns and things. So there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I don't remember who said it, but someone said the best guitar parts are the ones that you could sing back to somebody, that you can hum along to, and I think I have that going subconsciously in the back of my mind.
Right. It's always recognizable, which is great.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So tell us how the band approaches writing songs.
Man, it's inspired. Sometimes it's more methodical, but I'm trying to think. I mean, there's so many different ways. I don't think there's ever a process we try to follow, but sometimes Mike reads a lot and he journals, and sometimes he's like, there's a thought, or if something gets stuck in your head of like, you heard something or you had a thought and you're like, oh, I've got this line. Or sometimes it's just we're doing sound check and Jason starts playing a drum groove and Brennan does something magical on the keys and we're like, what? Oh, wait, what is this? Pull out the phone and, record what's happening, or,
right.
A lot of it is mumbling in melody, trying to sort through what's there. But, a lot of what we do is music, but a lot of what we do is a message. And so trying to bring the best message and the best music, sometimes you have to sort through them individually before you kind of bring them together. But so there's no real rules, I guess.
Sure.
But it's fun.
Right. Do you tend to work through all those things by ear? Do you do it as a group, or does one person say, oh, that was a great idea, I'm going to take this off and write a song?
Yeah, Mike spearheads a lot of the lyrics, but we try to get together and hash it out musically, and or we'll sit down and we'll start working on the computer and start with a beat, and start throwing things down and crafting. But I think we're all like 5 points of a star, like personality and skill level, and so we kind of complement and butt heads, and we couldn't be more opposite of one another, but it kind of makes a nice little. I'm making a little shape in my mind right now, like a star or circle. We're kind of all
right
around the perimeter like that. So
right. Does that create tension in a good way of people pulling in certain directions and wanting things and hashing those out?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jason could get frustrated that nobody really cares about the drums as much as he does, and Mike gets frustrated that nobody's working on the lyrics as much as he is. But you just hash it through, and like I said, we're all gifted in different capacities, so, Mike's not going to sit down and think of what's a really great drum part for this. But Jason is, and that will support the emotion that's in the song for Mike to craft that, and, for the rest of us, the guitars, and, a saucy bass line can really craft something cool melodically.
Right.
Lyrically with the melody, so.
Mm-hmm. So when you mentioned working with a computer and having a beat, are you creating fairly finished demos as you're doing that, or are those parts that are going to end up on the final master for the album?
Yeah, sometimes. The last two records, the last three, we've really demoed, the snot out of, where they were like complete recordings, but they were all in locker rooms at the local arena or the church choir room, and there's other stuff going on. They're not like great recordings, but it's all there. The roadmap, the parts, most of it is laid out. But the past couple records we got a guy named John Fields who's done a lot of great music. Jonas Brothers, Miley Cyrus. People are probably thinking that's not great music, but he's worked with a lot of other bands, Jimmy Eat World, and just a beast of a producer. And he's like, give me the session, give me the files, and they're all there, and we're like, well, you want to keep that guitar part that was recorded in a shower? And he's like, it's great, what's wrong with it? We're like, I don't know, it just feels wrong, because, it just,
right.
It's not an acoustically treated room, or, we're going straight into the interface. There was no preamp, no compressor, and so it's super cool you're in a multi-million-dollar studio recording stuff, but then you still have things from the demos that, you're like, they're placeholders, really, but. And a lot of times you try to go back and beat that original performance, but you just can't. There was something magical about it, the way that it was captured, and so
right.
It's interesting how music goes down.
Yeah, sure. So when you're in the studio like that, are you is typically the band all performing at once, or are you layering parts together?
We typically kind of take it a step at a time. Mm-hmm. Instrument at a time. Anymore it's, like I said, we have a fully crafted demo, and it's okay, let's go back and redo the drums.
Do you work in that actual demo, or do you start fresh and say, now we're going to...
No, we just import the session. Well, the WAV files, and so
sure.
It starts at 0. It's pretty much the same session, but okay, let's go back and redo this or this, and we need to add things here. So I don't think we've ever tracked a song that's on one of our major releases, at the same time all together. Mm-hmm. I don't think we've ever done that. We've done other things like that. We can, but it's kind of fun to dissect and, think specifically one instrument at a time.
Right.
There are certain energy elements that, happen when you're all playing together, but I don't know. I think it's just kind of how does everybody want to do it today? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Is it the situation then when you're finished and you have the album completed in front of you that you have to go back and relearn it then at that point to be able to go play it live as a band?
Yeah. There's so many times it's like, you're just going. It's a lot of it's inspired, like, oh, I hear this thing in my head. Okay, it's mic'd. Here we go. Throw it down, and you go back and you're like, I don't even remember playing that. What is that sound that's happening right now? And so you have to go back and rehash what actually was happening that week. Right. But yeah.
One of the things that I found interesting is you're using more effects on your vocals and things than a lot of guys do on their guitars. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of where that started. Maybe it was inspired by Jonesy, the guy from Sigur Rós. He did that record, and we call them elf noises, or elf sounds,
Right.
because I think it was like, what if there was like this really reverb delayed like elf singing in the background, like a higher elf from Lord of the Rings, not like Buddy the Elf from like Santa's elf, but like you just want that ethereal textured sound, and I don't know why, but I guess the Lord gave me the voice, can sing higher than normal men, I guess. I don't know. Everybody's like, man, he can sing so high. So just singing high into a microphone, let's add some reverb and delay. I don't know. I don't really think too much about it. I'm sure there's impedance issues with plugging a 57 into a guitar pedal with that little converter thing, but just add it until it sounds right, or in the box,
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of a thing that we like to have now on music, mostly probably because you kind of hear something and you're like, I don't know, what would that come from? An organ that's got like, some roll off or something with reverb and delay, or I don't know, let's just sing it. So, and then you layer it and it's in the background and it's kind of like, what is that? So I don't know, it's fun.
Right.
Because, yeah.
Yeah. But then you get to recreate that live, and you've actually got a vocal pedal board.
That's right, yeah. That's that 57 through I don't know, some kind of dongle that turns into a 1/4 inch, and there's like 4 pedals, and
Right.
So I just kind of go from there. People are like, why don't you use one of those, what is that, like a Line 6 M9, one of the
multi-effects.
Yeah,
boxes,
and
sure.
I don't know, I kind of adjust on the fly, and I kind of need the knobs, because when you're singing and playing and you want to look down and just be able to,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't go into the presets and the parameter function menu, whatever. So
So you're running things real time as you're playing and singing.
yeah, you kind of hear it and you're like, oh, I need to back that off. I need to turn that up. Because there's like an overdrive, there's a reverb. I have a gate, and then a delay and then a reverb, and so I'm kind of tweaking
Mm-hmm.
as we go.
Right.
So.
Right. I was interested to see that you're playing on bigger stages, but you're actually using a fairly low-powered stereo guitar rig, like Princeton-sized amplifiers.
Yeah.
Are you guys using ears? Are you monitoring through monitors? How are you setting that up?
Yeah, we're using in-ears, and we use the Sennheiser G3 series. I highly recommend those. Low-powered guitar rig. I don't know, I guess we ran into so many issues. I mean, I had a 45 watt, I think it was Bassman, a 410, and turn it down on stage, it's too loud. You turn them around so they're not pointing into the mics, but they're still,
Mm-hmm.
It's always guitar player versus sound guy, I guess.
Right.
Drummer versus sound guy.
Right.
So I was, you just do this for a while, and, the 412 sound great, but, just getting it, there's so much involved, Mitch. It's like, how much trailer space do we have? Can we fit this in here? I'm like, I'll just make everything small. Those things sound great.
Mm-hmm.
Little, like, American-styled tweed amps I really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a small footprint. Simple, straightforward,
Right.
not very complicated. So I like to do a lot of my clean from the guitar and the amp, and then I overdrive using pedals or pushing the front end hard.
Right.
So, yeah, just keep it simple.
Yeah, and you've got several stages of delay that you're working through. You've got Strymon, El Capistan, and a Blue Sky, and also a Boss delay that's splitting things into stereo.
Yeah, the Boss one is a trick that a buddy showed me a long time ago, because I was the only guitar player in the band. Well, they went from a guitar player, an acoustic player, and a keyboardist who also played some guitar, down to just me and the Mike playing the acoustic, and so we were down a keyboardist. We didn't have Brendan yet, so I needed to occupy a little more, space.
Mm-hmm.
And so a buddy showed me this trick with a Boss DD3 that you can do to basically pan one's, it's in stereo, so it delays one side, so it's not as much dual mono, and it's 100% wet, so it's basically like, you hear a wide stereo image in your head.
Right.
It was more for us on stage than the house. I don't know how much the house perceives that, but for us it was, you know, one guitar being right here just suddenly went wider, and I just got hooked to that, even though we have Brennan doing piano and keyboards super wide. But so that's the only reason I just have that at the very end of, you know, it splits at the delay, and on one side I have that boss pedal to delay that whole signal on that side.
Right.
But then, you know, if I'm doing a really punchy lead or rhythm part, I'll turn it off and it'll go back to mono and be that focused sound. So yeah.
So it's not modulated in any way. You're not really getting a chorused kind of a wide sound. It's
No.
more of just a stereoizer, if you will. There's not a distinct delay there that I hear anyway. It's
Yeah, I'm sure there's a name for what I'm doing, but I kind of perceive it as you're working in your DAW and you take the whole file and just nudge it like 8 milliseconds, 8 or 10 milliseconds, and all of a sudden it goes whoosh. So
right.
I'm sure there's all kinds of phase issues, but I don't know. The sound guy's never like, I'm missing a lot of weirdness, or, you know, low end and it's weird and it's phasey. No one's ever said anything, so.
Right.
And your ears, you don't perceive that phase anyway, so.
Right. A lot of times out front of house, the sound guy is filtering out some of that bottom end anyway, so there's room for kick drum and bass guitar and left hand of the keyboards, and everybody's got to have their space, right, in the mix.
Yeah.
So you're not coming out of like the Blue Sky in stereo to get the reverbs in stereo. They're coming out mono and then going through the DD3?
No, well, I go into I gotta think about this. I'm going into the El Capistan mono, and that comes out stereo.
Okay.
So then that goes into the reverb stereo, comes out stereo. One side goes to an amp, one side goes to that boss pedal to delay it, and then to the amp.
I see. So you're making that stereo reverb even wider.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Yeah, well, because even still with that reverb, the guitar is here, but the reverb is going like this. That boss pedal makes the guitar go like this, and the reverb still, you know.
Right.
I'm doing a lot of this.
But it's effective in demonstrating.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I'm with you. The nice thing about that from a mix standpoint is that it also opens up the center for the lead vocal and for the guitar player and snare, and so there you go, another reason to do it.
There's so much coming down the middle. My vocal, bass, kick, snare, lead vocal. So.
Right. Awesome stuff.
Fun with stereo.
Exactly. Man, thanks so much for taking time out of what's always a busy tour schedule to visit with us. It was a pleasure to meet you and to hear about what you have going on.
Thanks.
And best of luck with what remains of Winter Jam and all the summer festivals and everything.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
It's great to have you here.
Thanks, Mitch.
Appreciate it. And thank you for joining me for Sweetwater's Guitars and Gear. Be sure to tune in next time. We'll have more guitars, more amps, more effects, and we'll be making a lot of music. I'm Mitch Gallagher.